morning, everyone. Good morning. Today, I thought we would drill some notes and intervals. Yesterday, I think I made the mistake of perhaps making it a little too complicated. People were kind of dropping in and out. So today, I want to go over a couple of the key intervals that you need to know how to play on the guitar. And then we're going to quiz them with the notes up here on the staff and just go through a heck of a lot of them. So I'm going to give people time to drop in. So let's quiz some of these. First off, we're going to start in the first position here. You're going to see a note pop up on the screen. I'm going to give you a few moments to perhaps type in the note, and then I'm going to call out an interval in a shape that I'd like you to play. So let's run through those intervals real quick. I want you to be able to build thirds, both major and minor thirds, as well as perfect fourths and perfect fifths. So let's go through major and minor thirds one string at a time. A major third between the low E and A is your finger will be on one fret forward from your finger, which will be behind it on the A string, right? So they're kind of offset. And a minor third is a little wider, right? So you have two frets between your fingers. The third finger being on the low E string and the first finger being on the A. Like that. So major, minor. Perfect fourths are right on top of each other. Right? And a perfect fifth is like that. The traditional power chord. Right? So we have from the lowest, minor third, then we have major third, and then we have perfect fourth, right, and then perfect fifth. Those are the intervals inside of the scale. Good morning, drummer in the park. Good morning. So that is between low E and A. It is the same shape between A and D, and the same shape between D and G. Now they change when you get to G and B. Just because G and B are a different interval than the rest, right? So let's cover that real quick. We'll start with minor third. Minor third looks like the major third on the other strings. Two fingers offset like this. The major third are right on top of each other. The perfect fourth is like this, right? So your index, if we're doing index and second, I have my index on the third fret of the G and the fourth fret of the B, but it's just anywhere with that shape, right? That's a perfect fourth. And then your pinky out here for the perfect fifth, right? So here's a perfect fifth shape. Between B and E, it's the same as the other ones, right? So we have minor, major, perfect fourth, and then our fifth, the power chord. So let's drill these intervals today. If you can get really good and quick with these intervals, then this entire process is going to get a lot easier. We're also going to be drilling the notes, right? So I am going to call out an interval after we identify this note. We'll give you guys a few moments to identify it, and we're going to play it in first position here. So what note is this? This is a C, which we play on the first fret of the B. Now, I'd like you to build a perfect fifth off of this. Don't worry about the note that is generated by the perfect fifth. I just want you to learn the finger shapes for now. And a perfect fifth, you'd have your pinky on the third fret of the high E. Next, I'd like you to build a major third from the C. And that would be C with open E. The reason being, so you can imagine that, remember, this white thing really is just a finger, right? So the open E is that shape. Okay. Actually, let me prevent that from making too much noise. Okay, cool. So what note do we have here? I'm going to give you guys just a few moments. If you have any questions, leave them down in the chat. Today we're drilling notes. We're going to be reading notes in first position, and then I'm going to be calling out intervals to build off of this. This is really to prepare you for next week. I have a really, really great chord building lesson planned for Monday. But I feel like yesterday people were kind of dropping in and out, and that's just because we haven't gone over intervals enough. So we're practicing the essential intervals. I ran through each one at a time at the beginning of the video, so if you need to go back there real quick and then come back and join us for the quiz, feel free to do it. So this is A. We're playing A on the 2nd fret of our G string. Now, what I'd like you to do is build a minor third off of A to the B string. I'll give you guys a couple moments. A minor third would be putting the index on the 1st fret of the B. Next, I'd like you to build a perfect 5th off of this. And that would bring the pinky all the way out here, right? The perfect 5th between these two strings. Because G and B are a special case. Between G and B, it doesn't look the same as the other strings. There's our perfect 5th. All right, a major third off of this A. Again, don't worry about the notes that are generated by it yet. I just want you guys to be able to build the intervals with your fingers first. Okay, a major third would be right on top of each other. Okay, let's move on to the next note. What note do we have here? Of course, this is treble clef. This is G on the high E. So I'm going to give you guys a couple moments before I give you the answer, of course. Okay, so let's build a couple intervals off of G. Now this is on the high E. I want to cover how you can do an interval on the same string. You can't play them at the same time. You can play them one after another. Right? So G, if we wanted to do, we're doing thirds, right? We're not going to do 4ths and 5ths on the same string. But if we're doing thirds, you would go index to pinky like that, because that's a step and a half. A third is really built off of it's either 2 steps or a step and a half. So your minor third is a step and a half. Your major third is 2 steps. So you'd have a stretchier pinky there, right? Or open string to 3rd fret is a minor third, because you can imagine your index here, right? Okay, so let's build some intervals. I would like you to go a major third down from this note. A major third down from this note. Okay, a major third would bring your pinky to the 4th fret of the B. Right, 4th fret of the B. Okay, from this, I'd like you to go down a perfect 5th. And that would bring you to 1st fret of the B there. Right. So as we identify notes, I'm just going to call out a couple intervals so that we can get used to playing the interval shapes. Because the cool thing about it is you can get different voicings with the chords and move them. They move in cycles, so we're going to learn those cycles, but it's all based off of knowing your intervals. So it's so important. We're going to be doing major, minor thirds, perfect 4ths, and perfect 5ths today as a part of our quiz. Okay, drop any questions in the chat. Of course, if you need to know what your intervals are, you can check out Music Theory in One Lesson on Amazon. Music Theory in One Lesson, that's my book. You can also check the hour-long video that I have on my channel page. So we have C, playing C on the 3rd fret of the A. I'd like you to build a perfect 4th off of this. Again, don't worry about the note that's generated. We're just learning the finger shapes for now. So here's our C. A perfect 4th would bring you to the 3rd fret of the D. All right, let's go back to our C and build a minor third off of it. I'll give you guys a couple moments to noodle that out. A minor third would bring us to the first fret of the D. Okay, let's build a perfect fifth off of this one. I'll give you guys a few moments. So from that third fret of the A, perfect fifth. That would bring us to the fifth fret of the D. So there's our fifth, right? Power chords. Okay, let's move on from C. Give you guys a couple moments to noodle this note out. If you have any questions, leave them in the chat. I'm happy to answer them. This live stream is really all about drilling our theory, being able to find notes, being able to put them together into chords and stuff. So of course, drilling these intervals today is going to be pretty important. So yes, we have open D here on the screen. But I'm going to make it interesting, and I'm going to say, why don't we use the fifth fret of the A as that open D, and let's build some intervals off of that, because they are the same note. So let's build a perfect fourth off of it first. I'll give you guys a couple moments to noodle the perfect fourth. Remember, you need to know the shapes. Just go back to the beginning of the video. Don't worry about the note that you get at the end of this. Just go to the beginning of the video. I'll show you the shapes. We're going to get the finger patterns first. Okay. Good job, drummer in the park. D is correct. There's a little bit of a delay, so sometimes I see the answers late, but if somebody gets something correct, I'm going to give you a shout out. So be sure to put your answer in the chat there. So making a perfect fourth would bring your pinky to the fifth fret of the D string. Okay, let's go back here. Let's make a major third. Where would you place your finger for a major third? It'd be the fourth fret of the D. Minor third would be the third. Okay. Let's do a couple more of these where we're just identifying notes. And then I'm going to probably run us through some intervals. Take a moment. What note is this? Where are we going to play it? And we're going to build some intervals off of it. This is our A. Fifth fret of the E. The first interval I'd like you to build off of this is to go down a perfect fourth. Give you a couple moments. If you go down a perfect fourth, that brings you to the fifth fret of the B. Next, I'd like you to go down a major third, bringing you to the sixth fret of the B. Yet again, good job, drummer in the park. It is high A. So you're building a major third that way. A minor third, it just further out, right? And if you went down a perfect fifth, so whenever you locate these notes, just start playing some intervals off of it. It helps quite a lot. All right, what note do we have here? Where are we going to play it? And then let's build some intervals off of it. This is G, our open G. Open G. Okay, so as far as the open G goes, let's build some intervals. If we were to go up a major third, that would bring us to open B. Right? Remember, the major third looks different between the G and the B strings, right? So this, you can imagine this being a finger here. Right? They're right on top of each other. If we go up a perfect fifth, that'd bring us to third fret of the B. Like that. Because again, imagine a finger there. All right, take a moment to noodle this one out. This is our high E string. We can also grab that on the fifth fret of the B. Just like that. Let's Let's do that because I want to go down in some intervals to the G string. Right, so let's go down a major third. So that brings you to the 5th fret of the G. And if we went down a minor third, that brings you to the 6th fret of the G. Right, that's our minor third shape. If we went down a 4th, that would bring you to the 4th fret. And if we went down a 5th, again, we're quizzing intervals this morning, just the finger shapes for now, so that navigating the fretboard is a little bit easier. We're gonna learn how to call out intervals as you see them. But being able to do it with your fingers, you gotta be able to link the two, right? All right, let's move on from this one. We already did that one. We already did that one. Ah, here we are. Good. What note is this? Where are we going to play it? This is our D, 3rd fret of the B. So let's make some intervals based off of it. Let's go up a minor third. Where does that bring us? That brings us to the 1st fret of the high E. If we were to go down a major third, where would that take us? Major third down to the 3rd fret of the G. Minor third down, 4th. Now what if we take a D and we go up a perfect 5th? 5th fret at the high E. If we go up a perfect 4th, 3rd fret. Up a major 3rd, 2nd fret. Right? Just sometimes it helps to sit around and just play with these intervals. Okay. Last one, and then we're going to drill some intervals. Some written intervals. What note do we have here? Where are we going to play it? This is C, 1st fret of the B. Okay, so let's go up a perfect 5th. That takes us to 3rd fret of the high E. Let's go up a major 3rd. Remember, that's going to bring us to open because of that shape. Remember, you can imagine this being a finger here, right? So we go up a perfect 4th, right on top of each other. Good job, drummer in the park. Anybody else that wants to call in some answers, please do. This is just a morning session for people to wake up and learn their fretboard better, learn their intervals better, learn to sight read better. There's going to be a lot of good stuff, but a lot of it comes down to just drilling this stuff. So please put it in the chat there. Okay, let's set up. Let me zoom out here. We are going to go to another section. We'll go interval identification. This is musictheory.net, if anybody is curious, which is just an absolute awesome website. If you don't know about it, you really should. So we're just going to drill our major, minor thirds, perfect 5ths, and perfect 4ths. So let me clear all these out. There we go. Here we are. Okay, so what I'd like you to do is to tell me what is the low note that's being played, what's the interval above it, and then how do you play it on the guitar? Probably first position. We'll see if it takes us out of the first position here. So this is a bit of a brain exercise, so take a few moments. The bass note here is F, third fret of the D. And that shape you see on the screen there is the shape, so a perfect fifth, just like on guitar, the way perfect fifths they look the same. It works the same way on the screen, so that's the perfect fifth shape. So if we're going to go up a perfect fifth here to C, that is a one string in between, right? We could also go here. That's the shape we learned earlier, but another way to play it is one string in between and 2 frets back. So those are the two ways that we can play those perfect fifths. Again, we're only testing major, minor thirds, and perfect fifths in the key of C, I think, here. So we're really going to get to know this. All right, guys, what is the bass note? What is the interval, and how are we going to play this? What is the bass note? What is the interval, and how are we going to play this? We're quizzing interval shapes. Earlier we did, if you're just tuning in, earlier we did the finger shapes. Now we're doing finger plus staff shapes. Okay, so how do we play this? What is it? The bass note is an open G. And as you see on the screen, this is the shape of a third, right? Bringing us to open B, G and B. This is a major third. The major third, of course, are stacked right on each other, right? So if I needed a major third somewhere else, like bass off of C, be stacked right on top of each other. But this, they're just open strings because the open strings are stacked right on top of each other. All right, what do we have here, guys? Take a moment. What is the note? What is the interval? And how are we going to play this? What is the note? What is the interval? And how are we going to play it? So the low note is C, third fret of the A. That is, again, the third, right? You see the shape where they're just kind of stacked right on each other, nice and neat, with only one note between them. So get used to that shape. This is a major third. So we have that shape, A, the A string to the D string, right? And you can do the same thing up here, right? You just find C, and it's the same shape. And it's the same C and E, right? So these things overlap. It's very handy to know that. Okay. Major third. Oh, this one's going to take us pretty far up. But I think we can handle it. So, as a challenge, this is what I want you to do. I want you to find the high note and then tell me what is the interval downwards. What is the high note? What is the interval downwards? And how are we going to play that sucker? I'll give you guys a couple more moments. This is a tough one. This is a very high E, right up here. Right? So this, what is the interval downwards? It's a perfect fifth. So if you remember, that's our perfect fifth shape that we learned. Right? Between, that. My bad. I was thinking we were on the G and B string, but yeah, anyways, there's our perfect fifth shape, that classic power chord shape, bringing us down to A. So yeah, this sounded a little too rich to be a perfect fifth, even though those are nice sounding together. Okay, let's move on. What do we have here? I'll give you guys a few moments. What's the low note? What's the interval above it? Good job, drummer in the park. You're getting these down pretty well. Is this helping you? Let me know your thoughts in the chat there. All right, guys. Here we have a perfect fourth between A and D. That's the perfect fourth shape. It looks a little offset, and then between A and D, remember those are stacked right on top of each other. So our A and D, we can also grab those both on the 5th fret. Remember, perfect fourth is stacked right on top of each other. If we were to take that an octave up and have it on A of the G string, then we'd have it a little offset, because remember G and B are a little different, where we'd have one of them in front of the other instead of stacked. Close on that one, drummer of the park. Perfect fourth, perfect fourth. Okay. Thing is, perfect fourth, this is a major third, and it's stacked up really nicely. Perfect fourths have a little bit of an offset to them. Getting to know the shapes on the staff, it's really handy. So what do we have here? What is the low note? What interval is this, and how do you play this in first position on your guitar? Again, for those just tuning in, we're running through the key of C major a lot here for a little while as a part of my Fretboard Dojo program. We're going to get to know each and every key on the guitar so that you can sight read and improvise and do all the wonderful things. We're going to drill this an hour every morning, every weekday morning, for about 45 minutes or an hour. The idea is you just accumulate a heck of a lot of knowledge in your noggin, and we've gone through a lot of exercises. So here we go. G, low G with a major third, G and B. G and B, major third. And if you brought this an octave up to use the open G string, just to reiterate, or major third, they're a little offset, but between G and B, they're different, so it's just stacked up on each other, the two open strings. Oh, it's okay, drummer of the park. You're going to be a snail for a little while. I've been doing this a real long time, and you'll even find sometimes I'll make a mistake. It just happens. Just understand that this whole process is all about just getting familiar with it, One thing that I like to tell everybody, and I think this is very true, when you're reading music, it helps to understand what's going on, much in the way that when you're reading a book, you know the language. Right? It's very hard to read music when it seems random. But when you're able to abstract what you're reading, oh yeah, there's a perfect fourth, and oh yeah, this is that chord and that chord progression, things become a lot easier to memorize, a lot easier to play, etc., etc. Okay, here we have A on the G string, and it's a perfect fourth, bringing us to the 3rd fret of the B. As a challenge, how could I play this same interval, the same two notes, but use the D string instead of the G? You guys have a couple moments to noodle that out. The A is on the 7th fret of that string. And then the 4th shape, remember, between all the strings except G and B, they're just right on top of each other. The G and B string are a little different than all the other ones. Those ones are offset. All right, let's move on from here. What interval do we have here? How are we going to play it? This one's a challenge. This one's going to take us out of first position. For those of you just joining in now, what we were doing this morning is just drilling interval shapes. So you can go back to the beginning of the video if you need to know the shapes, and we went through a number of them. Now we're drilling the staff paper shapes for intervals and applying them to the interval shapes here. Really trying to visualize them. Okay, so we have a G, a high G. Now normally you'd play that right here, right? And that's a major third. And I showed you how to, you can do that stretchy major third on the same string. But if you wanted to really get this to ring at the same time, you can grab the G, which is on the 8th fret of the B. And that's that major third shape. Right, so if you identify this as a major third, either note that you locate can bring you to where you need to be, right? So if you're here, yeah, you can do that, or if you're here, you can go down to that. Right, so this is about navigating through this. Very good job, drummer in the park. You're nailing these ones here. All right. This is an important type of interval to be able to recognize. What is the low note? How do we play this interval? And also, what is the interval? Making sure my critters out there in the sunroom are not acting up. All right, we have low A, perfect fifth to E. So that's open string in second, but if you think about it, that's really the perfect fifth shape that we have. That, you know, because the white thing here, it is kind of like a finger, right? We can also grab the fifth fret here of our low E, because that's open A, and then you can grab the fifth fret of your G. Oops, sorry. Oh, sorry, over this way. I had some coffee caught in my throat there. I drink too much coffee. So this is our power chord shape, right? And you can also grab pinky and index. So there's a few ways to play these fifths. Moving up here, right? So those are always going to be shapes available to you. This power chord shape is still the same as this one that I used up here. Just moving the root, right? Now, if we moved it an octave up to the G and B, the shape changes because you're all the way out here, right? You could also use A and open E there. And there's this shape. Oopsies. All right, let's keep moving. Let's keep moving. All right, what do we have here? What's the low note? What is the interval? How are we going to play it? Okay, we've got a low F and a perfect fifth up to C. That's really the only place you can play this, because F, you're only going to find that F in one spot on the fretboard. It's such a low note. Perfect fifth, perfect fifth. All right, what is this? What do we have here? We have a low E and an A. Perfect fourth. Or that perfect fourth shape, they're offset a little bit. This is the only place you can play that. There's only one place to play that low E. For those of you just joining us, we're quizzing intervals on the guitar. We just had this one. All right, here we go. What do we have here? What do we have here? Perfect fifth. Perfect fifth. F up to C. Another way to do that would be to locate the C and go down to F. Right? So F up to C. Good job, drummer in the park. All right, what do we have here? We're not going to be able to play these two notes at the same time because of the physical limitations of the guitar, but we can still play them one after another. Low E, minor third up to G. Minor third. And of course, the minor third shape there is just a step and a half, right, on the same string, right next to pinky. All right, what do we have here? What is the low note of the pair? What is the interval, and how do we play this on the guitar? All right, this is a low, or not a low D, but a D and a perfect fourth up to G, sitting right on top of each other, right? And of course, if you move this up the neck, between G and B, it's a little different. Perfect fourth offset a little bit, and then we're back Drummer in the Park asks, how do you tell if it's minor or major? Take a look at my second live stream. I go through that. One thing that you have to memorize, that at least that helps me, is the Roman numerals for the chords in each key. So the way chords are built, if you have a major chord, it's major third, minor third. If you have a minor chord, it's minor third, major third. So you know the interval from that root based off of the chord qualities that you hopefully should memorize. So the 1 chord in major is always major, 2 and 3 are always minor, 4 is major, 5 is major, 6 is minor, and 7 is diminished. And if you know that, then you know A to C is minor third, because A is the 6th chord, and that's a minor chord. So there's a bit of memorization involved with that. If you make some flashcards, it'll help with that quite a lot. Okay, what do we have here? We have an A and a perfect 4th up to D. And that's our 4th shape there. Very good, Drummer in the Park. See, if you start to recognize the shapes on the way that they look on the staff, right? So this one looks like a third. At that point, all you need to do is be able to noodle out the bottom note, right? So we have A and then a minor third up to C. So there's our minor third shape, right? And if we wanted to move this up, that would be, there's our other minor third shape, right? So you can move it up and down the fretboard, but you just need to know the shapes, right? And you need to know whether or not this is major or minor. And that's something you do by memorizing the chord qualities. CDE asked what happens with my video. I don't know. It looks like my video is still streaming. You might want to refresh the page or something. Okay, so we have G up to C. That's a perfect 4th. Right, and that shape, remember, it's offset from open G to B. So we have 1st fret of B. Right, and if we wanted to move this up, we would have them stacked right on top of each other, as is the shape between the other strings. All right, guys, let's do a couple more, and then I'm going to be off for the weekend to finish these recordings for my upcoming classical guitar book that is coming out with fundamental changes, and make some cool PDFs. I have some really great chord stuff for next week, and we're gonna be drilling a lot of chords and intervals, and hopefully making more sense of our fretboards. So we're gonna do 3 more of these this morning. What do we have here? What do we have here? What is the low note, and what is the interval above it? And how are we going to play it? This is an A with a perfect 5th up to E, right? Probably the easiest way to locate this one is to say, I know my high E is there on the 12th fret of the E there, because that's where they start over. And then you can take that perfect 5th shape and move down, right? Just that power chord shape. So there's your A and E. All right, here we go. What do we have here? Low note, interval, and how do we play it? The low note is a low open E, and that's a perfect 4th up to the A. Drummer in the Park asks when I'm going to be live next. It's going to be Monday. I'm going to try and do this Monday through Friday. So that basically the way I envision this series is, this is how we sit. I'm just sitting down to drill this stuff with everybody. It's going to be very repetitive. We're going to drill the heck out of it until people feel like they really know it. And I actually am using my ideas for exercises to write books and stuff. So yeah. Show up here as long as you need to. It's supposed to be for beginners as well as advanced players, just being able to pick things out and know your way around the fretboard. We are going to write some music live too, which is going to be a lot of fun once we get a little bit of this practice under our hands. All right, what is the interval here? Low G, perfect 5th up to D. Right, right? That's our low, the low note of the interval, the root is the G. That's open G and third fret, the D. Or sorry, third fret of the B, rather. Okay. Now, how could we move this up, right? Well, we could take our power chord shape here. All right. Let's do two more. Notice how the shape just moved down there. So of course it's a perfect fit. But what's the root? Now it's F. And F up to C is there. We have that shape, right? Or we can also use our power chord shape. All right, let's move forward. Okay. This is the last question. What do we have here? What is the low note? What is the interval? And how do you play it? Take a moment. This is D and a minor third up to F. That minor third shape, right? And if we wanted that minor third shape between G and B, we move up here and they'd be offset differently. Whereas they're offset further here, they're only offset by one fret between G and B. So that's all we're doing for today. Next week, what I hope to do is add just a little bit of a new lecture, maybe once a week, and then just keep drilling this stuff. So we're going to start every session by doing a certain number of questions on just finding notes in the different C major scale patterns. Then we're going to do a certain number of intervals in the different C major scale patterns. And then we're going to do certain numbers of chords in the C major scale patterns. It's all going to be C major for a little while so that everybody can really let this stuff settle in. I plan on doing this every weekday morning for basically, as long as I possibly can. So with that being said, if you're a little rusty on the music theory, I don't want to have to spend too much time on these live streams explaining all of the music theory because I have other videos on my channel for that. So go to my channel and check out the hour-long music theory video that I have there. It's right on the front of the channel page. It's probably the best place to go to get filled in for this stuff. And then I also have a 2.5 hour long sight reading video so you can sit down and learn how to identify notes and stuff. This morning live stream is so that we can take our theoretical knowledge and our music reading knowledge and pair them together and really drill it and get good at it. So with that being said, check out all of the other material that I put out absolutely for free. If you want to join my Fretboard Dojo, which means you can hang out on the Facebook group, you can ask me questions, and I also allow people to request Skype lessons if they are part of the dojo. You can check out the memberships below. That's just a monthly donation to me, anywhere between $2 and $25. It just puts food in my belly, makes it worth my time to make all these PDFs and stuff, and you can download all of the PDFs. There's no PDF for this lesson because we just went through musictheory.net. However, next week there's going to be an enormous amount of quiz material for everybody to download and to go through. And I hope to write some music next week. We'll also be taking a look at some classical guitar pieces to see how they're constructed. If anybody has any sort of requests for a piece to look at or a song to look at, as long as it's in C major or whatever key, we'll just transpose it to C major. As long as it's in a major key, send it my way and perhaps I will feature it on one of the live streams. So without further ado, guys, have fun. Subscribe to this channel if this seems like something you want to do every weekday morning. As time goes by, we are all going to become monsters. So, get to practicing.